I'd like to get approval of the Finance Committee meetings from July 18th. Does anyone need to?
So moved.
Thank you. Do I need a second?
Second.
Okay, second. Oh, all in favor? Aye. Say it. All opposed, say nay. All right. All right, we'll move on to the fuel hedging report. Larry, if you'll take that for us.
Okay. All right, on your screen here, you'll see the fuel hedging results based on July year-to-date information. Fuel purchased through the month of July stands at 4.59404.
Microphone.
Can you hear me? Okay. Okay, so the net fuel cost at 4.159404, leading to a favorable budget variance of $135,000. Looking at the future state here for the balance of 2023, we are currently at 81% hedged, which translates to a little over 1 million gallons. And then contrasting for the next 12 months, we are at 88% hedged as we pursue our current policy of 90%. And then looking at how the fuel hedging strategy has paid out over the last 5.5 years approximately, at the bottom of the page, you'll see we still are way favorable at $1.3 million. Turning our attention to the financial results for the month of July. Talking through the statement of operations, our investment balance information, and our investment reserve summary information. Looking at page 4 specifically. For the month of July, this next chart shows the fair revenue and the components therein for the month of July. And we can see here that fair revenue is down just slightly for the month. Looking at the chart to the far right, we do note that there's one less weekday in the month of July, in addition to July 4th holiday, which has a smaller amount of service provided. And so those two components combined impact our average revenue per day. Turning our attention to operating expenses, you'll note in the red bar at 1187 for the other bucket, which is down $382,000 from the previous period. Root cause there is a reclass of BRT expenses, which we have determined to be capitalizable. Page 6, the summary of our operating results for the month of July. Total favorability for revenue comes in at $1.3 million based on $18.4 million of actual revenue. Total expense for the month at $11.7, which is favorable $787,000, leading to a budget surplus for the month of $6.7 million, which is favorable to budget $2.1 million. We note that ridership is 966,000, which is slightly unfavorable to budget by about 16,000 rides. Looking at the components of revenue for the month of July, fair revenue $1 million, slightly favorable to budget at 114,000. Our county sales tax has in fact bounced back very nicely for the most recent period. We came in favorable to budget 606,000. And then federal grants for the month is on plan at 5.8 million. Looking at the expense categories of note, wages and benefits essentially on budget, and our fuel and lubricants $572,000, which is favorable to budget 75,000. Turning to page 7. This next page represents a revised format that we are bringing to the attention of the Finance Committee that is intended to capture our operating revenue and non-operating revenue as distinguished between those two buckets. The intent here is to really provide the agency with additional perspective around how our operating revenue, which is a function of direct fare revenue that is put on the street on a monthly basis. And so our hope is to basically trend this over the course of time and become better grounded in the relationship between those two things. Ridership, again, as we've quoted, 965,000. Looking at the components of operating revenue, Metro fares, access fares, Metro Now fares, CPS fares, and the other bucket. So these are the factors, again, which we have determined to be directly a function of providing service on the street on a monthly basis. As distinguished from non-operating revenue, county sales tax, ARP 1 and ARP 2, the federal subsidies, which are another form of our grant funding, non-transportation revenue, which is a function of our investment portfolio. So again, this is intended to distinguish between operating revenue and total revenue. And then we've got all the expenses bucketed accordingly. Turning to page 8, this next page is intended to give the Finance Committee perspective around how our operating results have played out on a year-to-date basis, but really distinguishing between what is going to happen in the fourth quarter of the year. As you scan the two buckets of operating revenue and non-operating revenue, you'll see in the center page ARP Comp, COMP, which is affectionately known as ARP 2, does come to a close in the month of September. And so the impact of that for the balance of the year, you'll see no revenue that is associated with the months of October, November, and December. If you scan down to the bottom of the page, you'll see that there is a direct impact on how that plays out against our budgeted operating surplus or deficit in this case. And so our budgeted deficit for the month of October, acknowledging that both ARP revenue streams are going to be coming to a close, is $719,000. Again, our operating deficit. And then a slightly smaller number in the month of November. Now, as we think about the actual results on a year-to-date basis, do we believe that our deficit will actually materialize as budgeted? The answer to that is no. Given the favorability associated with sales tax, given the favorability year-to-date associated with our investment income portfolio, in addition to favorability that we've witnessed for several months in our expense bucket, net, I still expect a surplus in the month of October. But I did just want to call out for the committee's attention the notion of our ARP 1 and ARP 2 revenue streams coming to close effective September month end. That concludes my comments on the year-to-date and July results. Any questions?
Thank you for breaking that out. I think that's really useful and helpful to see that. One small question, county sales tax in December going up by 1.3 million. Curious, really.
Is the holiday that big of a bump?
I'm sorry, what I didn't hear you say, what bucket, Blake?
The December sales tax
Yes, well,
holiday purchasing? on
right.
sales
Well,
tax?
again, you have to recall that there's a 3-month lag, okay?
Okay.
And so that's the month that we would anticipate all of the actuals coming in from the month of September, okay? So that's in large part, at this point, it's a guesstimate, quite frankly, but consistent with how the University of Cincinnati provided us the information, we've leveraged this information.
I think it's important for us to try and understand the
Yeah.
sales tax revenue source and like any changes as we see them, so we can
Right.
anticipate the future. You know, it's hard to read, but yeah.
I was just, is that cyclical from previous years that sort of bump happens in September, or is there something else going on there?
Again, this is consistent with the forecast information that's provided from UC. So we can attempt to conceivably soften that in future planning periods, but for right now,
More curiosity, not
Okay.
trying to say that something's wrong. Just
Gotcha.
trying to understand it.
absolutely,
And this data helps us ask those questions and see what's going on. So thank you very much.
no doubt.
And I had a question on the page 5 there with the BRT expenses. Could you explain that a little bit more?
So BRT as a concept, there are operating expenses that can be grouped with the initiative that allow us to capitalize the expense over the useful life of the project. And so there were expenses that were baked into the June financials that we determined to be capitalizable. So we, in essence, removed those expenses from the P&L and are now holding them in a bucket where we will accumulate the total BRT expenses over the course of time and capitalize them once the project starts to come to life.
Okay, thank you.
The concept of capitalization basically means you're amortizing the expense over time as opposed to taking it in 1 month period.
Okay.
Larry, this goes back a couple months, but I think you said, as you look in the future, obviously the future is uncertain, but kind of the forecast based off the best estimate that you have now is once the federal funding goes away, we're going to be roughly on a break-even profile over the course of a year. Is that?
Well, again, drawing a distinction between what was budgeted versus the way the organization has trended over the last 7 months. And so I still expect us at the end of the day to be positive and having a budget surplus in the grand scheme of things. But, you know, when the budget was built, okay.
The budget's conservative.
Exactly.
You're updating your projections as reality actually changes.
That's correct.
It's-
And that also plays into our strategic plan, focusing on our service quality as well as our ridership. Because as you increase ridership, you increase your revenue.
When do we get the UC projections for next year? Or do we already have them? Are they working on it?
That came in the September-October time period, as I recall, last year.
Okay. Thanks.
Although I will say that the last time that when we received last year's projection, it did go out for 10 years. So I will initiate the request to see if there's any updates that they feel is appropriate. But technically speaking, I do have a 2024 projection in my possession already.
Great.
Okay. All right. The next page, again, looks at our investment reserve summary. Looking at the investment results for the month of July. We're looking at overnight investments at $141 million approximately, contrasted to securities and CDs at $40.1 million for a total of $181.1 million for the month, with a weighted average yield of 4.72%, which is up 26 basis points from the prior period. Contrasting that against the set-asides that the agency has put in place, dealing with BRT, funding our current capital projects based on either local match or 100% funding in the absence of grant funding. We end up with a net unrestricted securities available figure of $37.1 million approximately. And then looking at the net operating surplus for the remaining 5 months of the year at $11.4 million, we end up with a year-end projection of $48.5 million for our unrestricted securities and, again, the budget surplus. And that concludes my comments on the investment reserve summary. Are there any questions? Okay.
Thank you very much for that report. Excuse me. I'd like to ask, excuse me. I'd like to ask for, we'll go ahead and say approval for the investment funds resources, report, sorry. And can we get a second on that? Oh, do you have a question?
No, I was
No,
moving or seconding, whichever one you want.
Oh,
And actually, the investment reserve summary report does not require a vote, but the action item is a function of the two specific reports that we've not formally talked through just yet.
oh, okay.
Okay. So moving on to the one action item that we've got, looking at the distinction between our Metro portfolio in contrast to TIF. Okay, again, we've talked through the Metro piece at $181.1 million, again, with a weighted average yield of 4.72%, up 26 basis points. And then contrasting that against the TIF infrastructure investment portfolio, overnight investments at $61.5 million, securities and CDs at $30.7 million, total $92.2 million with a weighted average yield of 4.61%, which is up 18 basis points. And those two reports have to be formally voted upon. Are there any questions?
Okay. All right, now we'll approve.
Right.
So moved?
Thank you. And can I get a second? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Okay.
Okay. There's no other questions or comments. That concludes the Finance Committee report.
Any other new business, anything? Yes?
Madam Chair, I'd like to introduce a new member of our team this
Okay.
morning, if you don't mind, now that some of our more members are here. Ms. Tanisha LaFleur joins us as our new executive assistant to the CEO and chief of staff. She joins us with over 20 years of executive assistant and administrative experience, most recently in Dayton Public Schools, and also a long career in the U.S. military on the civilian side. So we welcome Tanisha to our team. She's been here 2 weeks and has already been a huge help to us. So please join me in welcoming Tanisha.
Thank you. Any other new business? All right, Finance Committee meeting has come to an end. Thank you.
Well, I would propose we go right into planning and ops because I know everybody wants to get to that infrastructure list and talk about that. We've already said the pledge. I think it's okay to just roll right into the agenda. I think the first is to cover the minutes from July. Anybody have any questions, concerns about those minutes? If not, I'll move approval of the minutes from July. I need a second. All right, properly moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say left. Any abstentions? All right, so the minutes pass. It's going to take a while. There's always so much good news, but John, take it away.
All right, thank you, Blake. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Let's start where we always start. With the good news starts with the great work done by so many great employees. Adrienne, please, and she's also going to give us an update with some great news about a recent job fair and our upcoming Metro Family Day at Kings Island. Adrienne. Yes.
Good morning. So we'll start here with our June Silver Wheel Award winners. We've got Access Bond Hill Maintenance employee Brandon George. Brandon's being recognized for his dependability and his professionalism. He communicates with all the departments according to his supervisor, and he is described as has a go get 'em attitude and is always positive. Nice. So next we have Mike Wooms. Mike Wooms is getting a leadership employee award. Mike is being recognized for his dedication and high quality of work. He performs his duty in the garage as needed to help his staff, and will come in and work on the weekends if needed, on night shifts, whatever is needed to assist his staff. He goes above and beyond and will buy them pizza out of his own pocket to kind of reward them for some of the work they're doing. And so he's being recognized for his ability and his willingness to change and help to create a positive environment for Metro. Then we have Jerry Richter, who is our Queensgate maintenance employee. Jerry is being recognized for his thoroughness in checking all of the buses, and he has created his own system to carry out his job effectively, and they're asking him to kind of show his system to others. He's always punctual and has no unexcused absences and has a great attitude. So congratulations to those employees. And then next we have Bond Hill Transportation employee, Tiffany Henderson. Tiffany is a 18-year employee with Metro, and she understands what it takes to provide great customer service and exhibits exceptional dependability. She has 0 absences, 93.8% OTP, and 0 customer complaints. So congratulations, Tiffany. Administrative support employee is Todd Christensen out of our IT department. Todd goes above and beyond what is expected. We recently had an upgrade to our Maximo system, and Todd traveled to all of the garages, all of the locations to provide IT support to the individuals utilizing the system to help them with the new changes that had come about, even working second and third shifts on multiple days to, again, help all the employees with the Maximo transition. And so he's just played a major role in many of the IT projects and their success. And then finally, we've got Queensgate Transportation employee Angelo Irving. Again, Angelo has displayed exceptional dependability. He has maintained a 97% on-time performance in May and has 0 customer complaints. He's been a model operator and is most reliable in terms of the service that he provides, and is always willing to share his expertise and his positive attitude with his colleagues. So congratulations again to all those employees. Next, we had our Big Bus Job Fair. It was on July 29th. We've had this twice, once in last year and then again this year, where we really go out and we have from 10 to 4 o'clock. We had it at the Queensgate Garage this year. We have radio stations there. 100.3 was there. We raffle prizes. We give food away. We do the interviews right on site for any candidate that shows up. We had about 50 individuals come out for the job fair. On Saturday. It was a very hot day, but nonetheless, it went really well. We probably will anticipate about 35 offers out of that job fair, and then we'll see who gets through the background and drug screening process from there. But it was a very successful event. We were very excited, and the team did a great job, collaboration with operations and marketing and some others. It was a great effort. So we'll continue to do these one-off, really big job fairs where we invite everybody to come to the location. They got an opportunity to get on the bus, sit in a seat. They could drive for 50 feet up and back so they can get a feel for what it was like to actually drive the bus, which we've seen some success from that. So it was a really positive event. And so we're real excited about that. And then last but not least, we have this weekend upcoming, Kings Island. Our Kings Island event, we will be having all of our employees out on Saturday or Sunday, and they can bring family members up to 4 based on dependents they have in their household. We've got food. We'll have some words from our CEO. Leadership will be there on both days to welcome the employees and give them an opportunity to go out. So they have free parking. They'll have food, and then they'll be able to go enjoy the festivities for Kings Island Day. And we've got T-shirts. This is all in addition to in celebration of our 50th anniversary. So again, we're real excited about that, and we've got a lot of positive response. Probably about 700 plus employees have requested tickets, so that's about 70% of our employees. So we're very excited.
Awesome.
And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian. Very exciting. Now we've got some exciting diversity and inclusion news from Andy with respect to how we're partnering with local businesses, as well as great feedback concerning our IT department and their efforts. Andy?
All right. Thank you, John. Again, our procurement department continues to lead in the diversity and inclusion space in terms of vendor diversity. They participated in a workshop with the Small Business Administration that you see there. And also, they've been invited to present as a case study on how to build a successful supplier diversity program at the National Minority Supplier Diversity Council's annual conference in Baltimore. So we again are, that is the direct result of the direction from this board to lift all boats with respect to issue 7, and our team is delivering here on a national stage. Next is our IT end user satisfaction. So as you all know, a successful IT team means that things work and things are in the background working very smoothly. Our team, through the help, with the help of Infotech, who is a national IT consultant group, led an internal IT user satisfaction survey. Again, Infotech has hundreds of clients throughout the country, and they also have 11 urban transit systems as clients. And they've conducted the same survey in all of these properties, and Metro's IT team were the highest among all peer systems in every service category. So congratulations to our Metro IT team for their outstanding service.
All right, thank you, Andy. Larry's got some exciting grant news as we move toward an even greener fleet. Larry.
Yes, good morning. Thank you again, John. The grants machine continues to roll. We've got outstanding collaboration to share with the group between our grants department and the planning and innovation function. where we have been awarded the FTA low-no emission grant to the tune of $14.1 million, which will allow us to purchase 15 or replace 15 older buses that have been powered by diesel. So this is exciting as we continue to chart the future state and look to evolve our bus inventory to being more energy efficient.
How many full diesel buses do we have left? I feel like we've been replacing with hybrids over the last couple of years. How many are left in the system?
We're headed towards a new hybrid program. Our hybrids are, say, 2009, 2010, that year. Those will soon be retiring. We've got hybrids arriving in the next bus buy, about 10 of those. So we'll be transitioning from that older technology to new hybrids within the next year.
And this is a new announcement? Yeah. I'm having trouble keeping track of all the grants you guys are getting. Spectacular. Good job. Okay. Next.
All right. We also had the opportunity in July to celebrate the career of Queensgate operator Rose Anderson. Rose was a Metro bus operator for over 32 years. She's certainly going to be missed by us. We're very thankful for her service, but what was so interesting about Rose's celebration is how thankful she was to the company and her coworkers. What it's meant to her to have this kind of career, to be able to serve. She expressed that in a very special way with many family members and employees present. So that's another thank you to Rose for being grateful, a grateful member of our team, and really recognizing how much her coworkers support her and lifted her up through her career. Congratulations, Rose. On July 26th, we celebrated the 33rd anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. As I'm sure you know, all of our vehicles are fully ADA compliant in terms of their equipment. We know that as a public transit organization, it's our calling to serve the community and serve our customers. It is an honor to serve those who need services with respect to the Americans with Disabilities Act. So thank you to our customers, thank you to the team that takes care of them, and a special thanks to our Access workforce for all that they do. August 8th was Ride Free Day in terms of taking Metro to the polls on Election Day. I'm told that there was a greater turnout for this one issue vote than in the recent presidential election. Maybe we had a part in that. 13% increase in ridership compared to Tuesdays over the summer on Election Day. So we helped get people out to the polls. Very good return on that investment in terms of the free ridership day on August 8th. I don't think it gets any cooler than this. Metro partnered with Black-owned outerwear for a one-of-a-kind T-shirt that they designed in collaboration with Metro staff in terms of the theme of the shirt. And we had a special unveiling of the shirt on August 9th with CEO Daryl Haley, Black-owned and Black Coffee Lounge owner Means Cameron as well, and speeches from some other local influencers that are also on the T-shirt. If you see it, and the easiest way to do that is to head to Black-owned outerwear, pick one of these up before they're gone and off the shelves. They're awesome. I would have brought mine here and passed it around, but I would be afraid that I wasn't going to get it back. You can't take that T-shirt from me. That's right. With the sale of each T-shirt, $2 from the proceeds of each sale goes towards Everybody Rides Metro. So thank you to Black-owned outerwear for that partnership as well. There are so many influencers that support Metro and support our efforts to move the region forward. This is one special way to recognize them. So get them while they're hot.
One of the influencers on the T-shirt is a former board member, Brendan Cole. If you see him, give him a little grief over it, if you would.
His head has been tipped a little to the side. It inflated his ego a little bit.
He's actually on the shirt.
He is on the shirt.
I've never seen
Alright.
Daryl in a T-shirt before. Just want to note that.
You have to look. There is a special, I would say tribute, surprise. Daryl is part of it. He didn't know about it until the unveiling. So good job to the Metro team. We can keep secrets from the boss. So.
Don't tell that to the board.
We strike that from the minutes, Natalie. You can make that up.
Thank you, Blake.
All right, and continue with the excitement. There's nothing about, or quite like, the excitement of a new school year. We're certainly excited to help CPS students and families and schools navigate the Metro system as we embark on another school year. Look for Metro staff to be out in the system on August 17th and the first few days after that at our major points of connection, all of our transit centers, answering student questions, making sure everybody safely gets where they need to go. Thank you again to CPS for the partnership and also the opportunity to attend their family cookouts, school orientations, and such as we get everybody ready for the school year. Definitely last but not least, happy birthday, SORTA. August 15th, yes. August 15th, 1973, the Southwest Ohio Regional Transit Authority was officially established and taking over operations of the Metro system. 50 years later, we've never been in a better position for future success. So please celebrate that. Celebrate all things Metro out on Fountain Square today between 11 and 2. All right, Blake, that's the news. A little parting shot from some of our attendees at the recent Black Tech Week event sponsored by the Cincinnati Chamber.
Well, that was great, absolutely amazing. I hope to see everybody who can out there on the square later today. I don't know if we get through these agendas, I'll have enough time to go over and get a T-shirt. And now that I know Brendan's on there, I got to get a few. All right, and you know, awards, amazing staff, and it wouldn't be a 50th anniversary celebration without all of you doing such an amazing job. So thank you. All right. Oh, yeah. Oh. Okay, so that takes us to ridership report. Matt, there you go.
I thought Ms. Robinson was going to do it there for a second. So, good morning. I know I stand between you and T-shirts and the Transit Infrastructure Fund report, so I'll make this brief as possible. We'll start with our fixed route ridership as we always do. So the total ridership for the month of July was about 951,000 on fixed routes, which is about 1.7% below what was projected. Local routes made up approximately 925,000 of those rides and express 26,000. Year to date, we're about 7.3 million rides, and that's still 3.9% above our projections. And this is 39% higher than this time in 2022. And this is a very healthy number considering that schools are still out, the universities are still out, and the fact that there were 2 fewer weekdays in the month of July than there were in June. And the next slide is the trend line for the past 4 years. And again, as we mentioned, ridership slightly lower in July compared to June. But again, the seasonality there is to be expected. And the next slide is the ridership average by type of day or service day. So weekdays average 36,000 rides, again, slightly off from projections. And Saturdays averaged over 27,000 rides. Thank you, Taylor Swift. And Sundays just under 16,000. The Sunday average was down slightly, but again, with the number of holidays and Sundays in the month. So.
Are you saying that Taylor Swift made the rides go up on Saturday and down on Sunday? Looking at that
Let's
data.
go with yes.
Okay.
So passengers per hour on local service was 16.4. That's 0.5 higher than the budgeted. And the cost recovery was 10.1%, again, just right at the budget there of 10%. And the passengers per trip on express and commuter routes was 6.9 on the next slide. That's 4.5 less than the budgeted KPI, and the cost recovery for our express routes and commuter routes was 25.1%, 7.1% higher than the budget KPI.
Can I just ask a question about the express service productivity? At what point do we assess whether the KPI is what we want to keep tracking against versus what reality looks like in a post-COVID world? Is that a next year conversation? Okay.
Absolutely. The next slide just shows our on-time performance. Local routes OTP was 77% and express 80.1%. That's on the next slide, please. So our overall OTP was 77.5%. And moving on to missed trips, there were 2,567 missed trips in the month of July, slightly up from the previous month. Metro operated 96.2% of all scheduled fixed route trips. And those missed trips are broken down by each day of the month on the next slide, as you can see. And the following slide, Sundays and Fridays do continue to be the highest days with the number of missed trips. That's on the next slide, please. And moving on to paratransit and Metro Now. So Access provided 14,874 rides in July. That's 3.7% above what was budgeted and 7% higher than this time last year, 2022. 13,353 occurred on the weekdays, 745 Saturdays, and 776 on Sundays. Year-to-date, Access has provided 103,000 rides, and that's 5.9% above the budgeted KPI. And similar to fixed route, again, this is the trend for the last 4 years. Again, still looking forward to when COVID drops off. It's not there anymore. And Access OTP was up this month to 91.1%. Go forward a couple slides. There we go. And on the next one, cost per passenger was $57.48. That's down from June, but it's 2.48 above the budgeted KPI. And passengers per hour were very close to budget at 2.13, only off by 0.07. And finally, Metro Now provided 1,168 rides in the month of July. That's twice as many as the month of June. Weekdays averaged over 45 rides, Saturdays almost 30, and Sundays over 18 rides. 98% of all of our riders were picked up within 5 minutes of their proposed or promised scheduled pickup time. And just to note, the Northgate Zone started out strong on July 11th, and is averaging about 32 rides per day in the last couple of months. And just one more piece of information on August the 8th, we more than doubled our daily average. We provided 101 rides on Metro Now, which is more than double the average.
Do we know much about those riders in terms of are any of them getting onto the fixed route system right afterwards? Like, do we have data on much of that?
Yes, we're actually in the process of looking at that right now to influence our future short and long range planning. So yes, we are looking into that. Great question.
And you were looking to get a couple months of data before giving a kind of larger picture to the board?
Exactly,
So we're
yes.
still on plan for that?
Within a few months,
We
we'll
are
start to show
still
you
curious.
some charts and graphs. Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
trying to get a few months, especially with having both services, both zones fully in effect for at least a couple of months.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any questions? All right.
All right, thank you very much.
That is the ridership reports. And so on to the procurement matrix. We have 2 items for today. Andy?
Yep, thank you. 2 rather straightforward items. In terms of Trapeze Software Services, this is the CAD AVL system that runs our fixed route and paratransit operation. We have a 5-year maintenance agreement with respect to software services that runs from 2020 to 2025. We also have a cloud hosting services agreement where they're hosting our data in the cloud. That agreement ends in 2023. So essentially, this amendment is to extend the cloud agreement for the next 2 years. So that agreement ends at the same time as the hosted services or the managed services agreement, so we can renegotiate the entire package at once at the end of 25. So that's the contract amendment for Trapeze Software Services. The second is Fleet Watch. Fleet Watch is the fuel and lubricant delivery and tracking system that runs throughout our maintenance departments. This is a sole source award to replace the hardware and software associated with that system. We found that more economical than a full replacement and new vendor for the entire system. And that is as you can see, a sole source contract at $340,000. And we have our team here if there are any questions about either of those items.
Any questions on the maintenance tech, either items? So Trapeze doesn't do the fuel and lubricant monitoring?
They do not. And I don't know if, Jeff, if you want to talk a little bit about Fleet Watch.
So yeah, Fleet Watch, Trapeze doesn't have anything to do with our fleet fuel dispensing system. Fleet Watch is just, every bus has a transmitter. It pulls in every night. It downloads all its information to Fleet Watch, and then while it's doing that, Fleet Watch is recording how much fuel and fluids it gets, and then from there it develops a report, It also transmits our mileage into Maximo, which we use for PMs, generating our PMs and preventive maintenance and that kind of thing. So they have separate disciplines. FleetWatch is just, this is upgrading the equipment and the software. If we were to do a whole system changeover, we're talking double that, if not over $1 million to do that. So it made more sense to upgrade our current system.
Gotcha. So this is a 6-month term to put the new hardware in, but we plan to be using FleetWatch for many, many, many more years.
Correct. Yeah, the current system we have in place is roughly 13 years old, so it's outdated. The term is 6 months just to install the new equipment and software, and then from there we'll continue to use FleetWatch and have a relationship with them as far as updates and that kind of thing.
Great. Any other questions, concerns? All right, thank you. Let's consider the Trapeze software modification first, 332020. Anybody want to move that? Thank you. Properly moved and seconded. All in favor of the contract modification for Trapeze, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say left. Any abstentions? All right. That goes on to the consent agenda, I believe, unless there's any objection. All right. And then FleetWatch upgrades. Entertain a motion. Oh, okay. Moved. Do I have a second? Properly moved and seconded. All in favor of FleetWatch upgrades going on the consent agenda, say aye. Opposed, say left. Any abstentions? All right, so both items go on the consent agenda. And I think that gets us through our entire planning and ops meeting at 9:15. Spectacular. Sorry for anybody who showed up. We started a little early today. Any new business? If not, infrastructure. All right, meeting closed. New meeting.
And like we did with planning and ops, I think we can just roll right into this and. No, I'm fine. I'm fine here. Yeah. Hala's going to do all the talking anyway. Yes. So I will call to order the Infrastructure, Bike, and Right-of-Way Committee meeting today on Metro's 30th anniversary, August 15th. Let's start with approving the minutes of the January 17th meeting. If we can take a look at those, that would be great. Does anyone have any comments or corrections to the minutes? If not, is there I'll move to approve the minutes. Okay, thank you. All in favor of approving the minutes from January 17th? Say aye. Aye, thank you. Any opposed? Say left. No, okay, thank you. Okay, so you all thought that John's report was so great, the good news report, and it was probably one of the best of the year. There is so much good news in there, but we're going to continue the theme with more good news, with an update on the projects that we have funded through the TIF so far, and Hala's got a great presentation here, so just take it away and let us know what we've done so far.
Good morning, everybody. And yes, we have some really great news, but really all the hard work that went into this is owed to Walid. He's been managing this program, this year. Doing great job working with the consultants and taking care of business. So you may have seen some of the pictures you're going to see here, but then Walid added a ton more projects in this presentation, which is good news because it means that projects are progressing and we have projects that are completed or being completed and so on. So what you see here is a sign. This is a requirement in their contract. Each awardee, when they start construction, they have to put a 4-foot by 8-foot signs indicating that this project is partially funded by SORTA. So this is a pride for all of us. Next slide, please. This is the Addiston project. Unfortunately, we didn't have the before picture, so we put the sign picture on the left and the after picture on the right. From this slide onwards, the picture on the left is before, and the one on the right is after. This is a great improvement on that road. Next slide, please. I'm going to go through these fairly quickly. Again, you can't do the comparison between these two before and after. Next. Next. The Lincoln Heights Wabash Avenue project. Next slide, please. Again, you can see the pedestrian crossings and the lines. Everything is delineated. Looks much better, safer for pedestrians as well as vehicles. Next. Next. The River Road improvement. That's a major one. Next, please. Yep. This is a multi-lane crossings, an intersection improvement. Next slide. Again, they're hard at work. You're making things better and improving safety. You can see a sidewalk that was added as well. Next. The Sycamore Township, they were the first to start and the first to finish a project. And they've been a great partner with us. The Montgomery sidewalks, next slide. Again, there's no comparison really between the before and after.
Haled, are we tracking number of new sidewalks created through this program? I'm convinced that we're going to be a leader across the country in building sidewalks in suburban communities, and I just would love to be able to have that data.
That's something that we're working on to keep track of exactly how many feet of sidewalk or improvements are being completed. Great. See, great minds think alike. This is the Ohio State minds.
It would also be interesting to see how ridership improves on these routes where we improve the pedestrian experience. Is it
Actually,
easier for
that's a
somebody
very
to
good
get
point.
to the bus
Yeah.
stop?
Because as you will see some of the next pictures and the amount of sidewalk that was added, that will allow people to get to a bus stop safely and so on. So that's a good point, actually. Next slide. Yep, sidewalks, again, being added, as well as resurfacing of the roadway. Next. This is the Anderson Township, Elston Road. Next slide. You can compare before and after. That was totally unsafe, not only for vehicles, but definitely for pedestrians, and how it is right now. Next. Delhi, Greenwell Avenue. Next. Just look at that sidewalk. A huge transformation of that community. Next. Including ADA, compliance with ramps and so on. Again, make it safer for everybody. Next. Sidewalks. Next. Mount Healthy, Compton Road. Next. Again, just incredible improvements. Next. Again, you see the intersection, with the crosswalks there, more visibility, safer for pedestrians. Next. Now here, this intersection was redone, the lanes were resurfaced and so on. And when Waleed went to take a picture of the after, what he noticed, and it was really great, is this house, this is the before house, and this is the after house. They painted their house. So people are really taking pride in these projects. Individuals, they see improvements on the roadway, and that's impacting their property. So they literally just, repainted and improved their house from the outside. And that really was really heartwarming. Yeah. Again, pedestrian safety in terms of the intersection, crosswalks, in addition to resurfacing the streets. Next. Springfield, Galbraith, that was a major undertake. Next slide, please. Adding, the curbs, making safer, resurfacing for vehicles and buses. Next. 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 That's it. So really great improvements, and there are many other projects that are still underway or about to start as well, and we'll keep you updated.
Thank you so much. So many of those are very dramatic improvements, and they really are going to have a great impact on the quality of life for people in those communities. So
yes.
I think we should be very proud of those. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Moving
All right.
into the next round.
Yeah,
Very exciting.
that's the even more exciting presentation. All right. So this is year 3 of the Transit Infrastructure Fund program. And, we're here today to share with you the projects that were submitted and the ones that were selected to receive funds from this round. Back March 1st, we announced the call for projects, inviting municipalities, townships, and so on to submit on projects. The deadline was May 31st, and we received about 38 projects from 20 different jurisdictions. And then typically it takes about a couple months working with our consultants to evaluate, to review these applications, evaluate them, score them, and rank them. So that task was completed end of July. And next slide, please. So this is the complete list of all projects that were received. No, zoom out, please. Yep. So 38 projects. The total construction cost was about $82.5 million. The total request from this fund was about $46.5 million, which is about 56% of the construction cost. Next slide, please. So as I said, those applications were submitted by 20 different municipalities. Some submitted multiple applications for different projects. City of Cincinnati submitted on 9. Hamilton County submitted on 4 projects. Lincoln Heights on 2, and so on. Next slide. This slide shows the different jurisdictions that submitted on round 3. And as you can see, they cover quite a bit of Hamilton County. The next slide shows all the jurisdictions that not only submitted this year, but also received an award last year or the year before. And it covers pretty much the entire county. There's probably just a handful of jurisdictions who haven't taken advantage of this program yet. And that's really great news to us and to this program, that it is covering the entire county, and everybody is taking a fair share of this program. Next slide, please. So after evaluations and scoring and ranking, this is the ranking of the projects. As you recall, the guidelines stipulate that no particular jurisdiction can receive more than 50% of a current pot. And so we had to cap some of these municipalities, basically the city of Cincinnati, to 50% of the available funds for this year. City of Cincinnati submitted 9 projects. 2 of their projects, which are 2 big ones, number 3 and 4, will still receive about $6.8 million on top of the Western Hills Viaduct annual award. All other projects from the different jurisdictions will all be funded. The Hamilton County submitted on 4 projects. Then just, recently they withdrew one of those 4, and that's why it's scratched. But all other projects will be funded. The total amount of funds available for this round, excluding the Western Hills Viaduct payment, is $27,861,563. Next slide.
Couple questions on this. One, are we counting the Western Hills Viaduct as part of the city's towards the city's 50% cap? Why is that not split between city and county?
It is counted as the city.
So just the city, though it's not the city and the county's joint, because I know they worked jointly on that application.
As of right now, it is the city.
I would recommend considering a shift there, because that's a joint project.
We're having some conversations about that right now. It was applied for by the city.
Right. Understand, but everything they've done has been.
We're having some conversations about that right now. The other thing I want to point out is when issue 7 hit the ballot, we were expecting somewhere between $25 and $30 million for fixing roads and bridges. And notice this year, It is a lot more than the 25. It's $27 million above and beyond Western Hills Viaduct. So that is extremely, extremely good news as the amount of projects that we're able to award.
The other question I had is sort of at the tail end of this list, the weighted score is pretty low on frankly one of them, and trying to understand our approach to, like, do we have a floor that, is a project have to reach a certain threshold to get funded, or are we sort of like, once we have the money, it's like we'll just go all the way down to the bottom of the list?
No, that's a very good question, and that actually took quite a bit of time, discussing it with our consultants in year one.
Yeah.
These scores are kind of a bit deceiving because if a project receives a low score, it doesn't mean it's a bad project. It's a needed project, but it just didn't score as high or relative to the other project as high. But it's not like it's a bad project or it's an unjustified project. If we see any of these concerns, usually we take care of that in terms of certain adjustments or not counting it, dropping it and so on. But again, just because a particular project received a low score, it doesn't mean that it's a bad project. It just relative to the other projects, it didn't score that high.
Okay. As the program gets more competitive, it might be something to consider, sort of setting a minimum threshold for expectation. I think it's incredible that we're able to invest in communities across the county, but I also want to make sure that we're not just, especially if we're setting a cap on jurisdictions and then funding all the way down if the projects are relatively sort of low scoring comparatively, I think we'll need to think through that.
Good, thank you. Yes.
This is fantastic information, so congratulations. But on the College Hill community piece, is that, have we seen applications from, is that the Redevelopment Corporation?
Correct.
Okay. Have we seen applications from other development corporations before? Is this the first time that they've submitted, even though they're inside the city's jurisdiction?
We did, not from them, from another jurisdiction last year in round 2, and they were disqualified. Now, with this particular one, they stated that they are doing it on behalf of the city, contacting, and usually we need support documents saying that, yes, this is supported by the city, it's a city project. They did not submit or provide justification to include them. The checking with the DOTE, they said that's not our project, so they were dropped.
Okay, so they know now, right, how to submit differently.
Well, yeah, they will know in the next few days, I guess.
Well, that helps to know.
Yes.
And I have one more. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no,
Sarah.
go ahead. I have a follow-up to that question, though.
Go ahead.
So if that's the case, so could any outside group apply for this funding if they have a letter of support from their municipality?
It has to
Confusing
be.
to me.
It has to be a municipality project.
Yes.
Now, if another entity is doing it on their behalf, that's something that we will look into. But it has to be a municipality project.
Right.
And they failed to provide that documentation.
I could see a lot of groups like the College Hill Community Urban Redevelopment Corporation submitting applications,
Yeah.
perhaps with a letter of support from the city. And then I don't know how we would evaluate those.
I guess
don't know.
The question I would have is, what's the benefit to an outside group submitting in partnership with the city? Is it that they're bringing the local match to the project? I'd be curious to understand the genesis of this application to know why there would be an upside to submitting that versus the city. You know what I mean?
Well, potential upside would be the planning process with the community. They might have a plan specifically in place to do some of these sort of things like pedestrian safety, and that would help their case with the jurisdiction they're in, like Cincinnati. But I think it feels like the answer would be they must go through the city.
Correct.
Get it approved through the city. And the misstep with any of them would be that if they went outside, it's unlikely to succeed.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't that what we're
Makes
saying?
sense, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
And-
that's
and-
right, because that's the way the tax dollars were funded and approved. It has to go to, that's the way the Ohio Revised Code reads. It has to go through a municipality.
Okay.
So,
And just like
We can't fund a nonprofit to do an infrastructure project. Just, okay.
Yeah, and just like we did with the other entity last year, we'll have a talk with this entity just to explain to them, make sure that they understand it moving forward.
Dan, you had another question?
I have another question. I
Yeah, please.
feel like I know the answers probably, but I bring it up as much as I can in any public setting in terms of burying utility lines and with cooperation with Duke. And are there opportunities for these communities to work with Duke when we're doing a project to a sidewalk or some improvement for them to combine a project with Duke's coordination in burying power lines? Is that something that ever comes up? And if it doesn't come up, is there a way that we can help a community see that opportunity?
We haven't had such projects per se, correct me if I'm wrong, Waleed, but the guidelines state that a strictly utilities project is not eligible to submit, but if utilities is part of a project, then that cost can be covered.
It feels like to me so many, certainly public officials that are elected, don't really see that opportunity.
Yeah.
Then public administration leaders sometimes just say, "Oh, it's too expensive," and they never really pursue it. Yet the opportunities could be there, but they probably need help to see that from people that are in the game. And it seems to me that if you're shutting down a thoroughfare for a period of time, it's an opportunity to combine it with Duke. I know it's a lot of coordination. It's not really our responsibility.
Yeah.
But if we could help people work with Duke, it just might be useful.
Okay, great, thank you.
Might be something worth flagging with Duke, that we could actually build a partnership with them to say, when we were going out for these, have you considered, and here's contacts at Duke that you could talk to. I mean,
Yeah,
just to build
yeah.
the
Look at one of your
grant
slides,
Yeah.
and you see the pole, and it detracts from the whole cosmetic development that went on there. I mean, you see the poles, I think that's a great idea.
And the ongoing increase in storms and activities, the power outages are not going to go down in our lifetime. So it's just something to be aware of. And Duke does these surveys, but it feels like they do them completely independent of government jurisdictions and quasi-government jurisdictions.
Well, that's
Dan,
great.
as
Thank you.
as a board member of Cincinnati Neighborhood Business Districts United, I can tell you that burying utilities is a frequent topic of conversation, and the number that the city quotes neighborhoods is this is an old number, but $500,000 a block to do that. So it's so expensive. Yeah.
But they do it. But it's so expensive. So then people just throw their hands up and say no. Just like they used to throw their hands up with ODOT or DOT and say, well, they won't support this pedestrian safety measure. Well, sure enough, DOT is supporting these pedestrian safety measures now. Now there's money not available, right, for some of these Duke utility lines. But it used to be 10 years ago, we said that all the time at the city of Cincinnati about pedestrian safety measures. Well, the people in the transportation department won't support it. Their KPIs conflict in some ways with some of the KPIs we cared about in the planning department, but things have changed. So I don't know. It's just
No, it's a good conversation, and the more we ask about it, we may make some progress there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this is great. Thank you.
I had a question on and we talked about this earlier, but the municipalities that have not applied yet, are we reaching out to them and providing the technical assistance that they might need to get an application in?
Yeah, every year, just before we make the announcement for projects, we also hold a kind of like a community meeting for all of these jurisdictions to talk to them about, what's coming up and any changes to the guidelines. And if they have any questions, we'll answer those. That's the typical process, and maybe we'll make an extra effort to contact those who haven't submitted yet, just to make sure that to understand the reasons, and to your point, if they need any help, we'll see how we can assist with that.
I think that would be great. That happens with this neighborhood business district funding process. Also, it's often the neighborhoods that just don't have the capacity or the wherewithal, the skills in the neighborhood to put together an application, and maybe some of these municipalities just need a little extra help.
Yeah. Yeah, of course, to your point, Many of these applications are completed by consultants. So some jurisdictions take advantage of that, but we will do that as well. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, next slide, please. So the most important slide. So the staff request your approval to move these award recommendations to the integrating committee with the assumption the Western Hills Viaduct contract is to be amended to 15 years. And the total amount of award is $27,861,563.
Things to work. Okay. Are there any questions? We have a motion. No further questions? Is there a second? Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. And all opposed, say left. No? Okay. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Well, very exciting, and it's just so great to be around the county and to see all of these projects underway and to know our role in this. And thank you to Khaled and your staff for figuring this out, because I'm sure it's a lot of work going through these applications and evaluating them. So thank you so much. Any other new business? This is like a record. Like, how did we do 3 meetings in an hour and 9 minutes? Yeah. There you go. Yeah, right. All right. Well, we've had so much good news today, and hopefully this puts everyone in a spirited mood to join the party from 11 to 2 on Fountain Square. So with no further business, we're adjourned. Thank you.